Emma had always dreamt of having a place of her own. When she moved into her new apartment, she felt a sense of independence and accomplishment. The apartment was cozy, with just enough space for her belongings and a view that overlooked the bustling city. The fresh paint on the walls and the new furniture she had carefully chosen made it feel like a sanctuary. She was content. It wasn't long before she met John, her next-door neighbor. John was in his late 30s with a kind smile and an easygoing demeanor. He introduced himself one morning as she was leaving for work.
Hi, I'm John. I live next door. If you ever need anything, don't hesitate to ask,
he said warmly, extending a hand. Emma appreciated his friendliness. Living alone in a new place could be intimidating, and having a helpful neighbor put her at ease. They chatted briefly, exchanging pleasantries about the neighborhood and their favorite coffee shops. Days turned into weeks, and Emma settled into her new routine. But then she started noticing odd things. It began with small, almost imperceptible changes. A book would be out of place, her keys would be somewhere she didn't remember leaving them, and she occasionally heard faint noises at night, like someone moving around in her apartment. One evening she mentioned it to John when they bumped into each other in the hallway.
Do you think it's something I should worry about?
She asked, trying to mask the anxiety in her voice. John chuckled.
I'm sure it's nothing, but just to be safe, I'll keep an eye out. These buildings make all kinds of weird noises.
Emma nodded, grateful for his reassurance, but still uneasy. Her sleep became restless, filled with dreams of shadows lurking in the corners of her home. Every creak of the floorboards or whisper of the wind sent her heart racing. The situation escalated one night when Emma awoke to the sound of creaking floorboards. Her heart pounded as she reached for her phone and dialed 911. By the time the police arrived, the apartment was eerily silent. Detective Harris, a stern man with a commanding presence, led the investigation. His sharp eyes took in every detail as he questioned Emma.
We've had a few reports of break-ins around this area. Be vigilant, and if anything else happens, let us know immediately.
Determined to get to the bottom of it, Emma purchased a small hidden camera and set it up in her living room. For days she reviewed the footage, seeing nothing unusual. Then one night she saw him, John, entering her apartment with a key, methodically searching through her things. He moved with a practiced efficiency, his actions calm and deliberate. Emma's hands trembled as she confronted him the next day. She waited by her door, heart pounding, until she heard him coming.
John, I know it's you. I have you on camera,
she shouted, her voice breaking with anger and betrayal. John's expression shifted from confusion to indignation.
What are you talking about? I would never do such a thing.
His voice was steady, but a flicker of fear crossed his eyes. But Emma wasn't swayed. She took the footage to Detective Harris, who watched it with a furrowed brow in his dimly lit office.
I'll take care of it,
he said, his voice reassuring, but with an edge. Emma couldn't quite place it. He clasped her shoulder, his grip just a bit too firm. The following day, Emma came home to find her apartment door ajar. Fear gripped her as she pushed it open, revealing a horrific sight. John, lying dead on the floor in her living room. A note was pinned to his chest. You were getting too close, now it's your turn. Emma's breath caught in her throat. She backed away, her mind racing. The phone rang, breaking the silence. It was Detective Harris.
I told you I would take care of it. You're safe now,
he said, his tone calm, almost soothing. Realization dawned on Emma. The true danger wasn't John, it was Harris. Panic surged through her as she scrambled to gather her things, intending to flee. She grabbed her keys and purse, her hands shaking so violently she could barely hold them. But when she opened the door, Harris was already there waiting, his face impassive, his eyes cold and menacing.
Where do you think you're going?
He asked, his voice low and threatening. Emma knew she had stepped into a nightmare she couldn't escape. The real threat had always been closer than she ever imagined, lurking behind a badge meant to protect. She tried to speak, to reason with him, but words failed her. Harris stepped closer, his shadow engulfing her.
You should have stayed quiet, Emma. Now you belong to me.
With Emma's fate uncertain, this is just a chilling reminder of how trust can be weaponized and how appearances can be deceiving.